everyone, I'm Luke and today we're diving down the Tube of Toons to review the brand new movie, Straight Outta Nowhere, Scooby-Doo meets Courage the Cowardly Dog. Yes, this movie came out not too long ago, just a few weeks ago now, and since it is October and we are in spooky season, I thought we'd return to the world of everyone's favourite cowardly dog, and I'm not talking about Courage, no, more Scooby videos on this channel this month for Halloween and beyond. That's right, we're getting back to what we do best, and why not start with a look at the latest release. And don't worry, there's going to be no spoilers in this review, so if you haven't seen the film yet, you do not have to worry. I am not going to be ruining anything. Now, I do have one slightly spoilery point that I do want to make, but I am going to save that to the very end of the video, and I'm going to let you know just before I do it. So don't worry if you've not seen this film yet, I'm going to let you know whether I think this is the film for you. But if you have seen the film yet, there is one little thing I do want to have a little bit of a discussion on, but like I said, I am going to let you know. Now, before we get started, can I just ask you to hit that like button, because it really helps out the channel and lets the video get seen by so many more people. I know you all been waiting for this one, so just let's get into it. Straight Outta Nowhere, Scooby-Doo meets Courage the Cowardly Dog starts off just like any other Scooby-Doo movie, with the gang finishing solving a previous case. In this case, an evil clown stealing money. But just as they're about to wrap things up, Scooby hears a noise that sends him crazy and sends him right in the direction of nowhere, which is where he bumps into Courage the Cowardly Dog, who has also been sent crazy by these same noises. Clearly it's some sort of noise only animals can hear, and they're both affected by it, and that is of course how we set up this crossover. The gang chase after Scooby, trying to find him, and of course they find him alongside Courage, Eustace and Muriel. And from there, all the typical crossover antics ensue. They get invited to a meal with the mayor, get chased by cicadas, and have to unpack the mystery of what is going down in nowhere. That's right, this film sets out to unpack the mysteries of the Courage the Cowardly Dog series as a whole, and just the setting of nowhere. Very interesting stuff. So what did I think of this movie? Well, I actually really enjoyed it. I loved seeing all the crossover antics. It's just nice to see both these sets of characters on screen together and see how they interact with one another in interesting ways. Of course, Courage teams up with Scooby and Shaggy, and together the three of them are a cowardly trio. That just makes sense. Of course, Muriel takes to more Fred, Daphne and Velma. She'd always been the more inquisitive one. And of course, the gang, when placed in nowhere, want to unpack a mystery. They are mystery solvers. That's exactly what they would want to do, and it is fun to see the contrast of them trying to figure everything out with Muriel, Eustace and Courage, who are all used to this and just have kind of accepted it. Is it my favourite Scooby movie that's been released recently? No, it's certainly not in my top few do, but I still very much enjoyed it. Like I said, I love seeing these different sets of characters interact. One thing I did want to discuss is the pacing of this movie, because one thing that I did notice is that the way the film started off, it was fairly slow. The characters meet up, and for what feels like quite a big portion of the film, we do just have these little interactions between all the different characters. And like I said, I enjoyed seeing that. It's very fun to see, but it does feel like it takes a while for the film to get going. The characters are meeting up on screen, but it seems almost aimless. Once the characters meet, Muriel invites the gang inside for tea and snacks, and they just sort of are sat chatting for a while. And then, like I said, they get invited for a meal with the mayor, and that's just sort of like, okay, that's a little random. And while, of course, this is all important, it's all connected, it does feel like the film takes a while before it really gets going, before you can really start to see what the plot actually is. But that being said, once you get to about midway through the film, things really do start to kick it into another gear, and the film really does ramp up, and it becomes a lot more fast paced. A lot of things start happening very quickly, and that is when the film really does start to get going and becomes very, very enjoyable. Now, when I say that, I'm not saying that the film starts off really slow and is really boring, but it definitely is a notable difference to the second half of the film. And I do want to let you know that maybe if you are going into watching this film and you check it out and not much happens in the first like 10-15 minutes, maybe you're considering turning it off, you're thinking not much is really happening here. I just want to say, give it a chance because it does pick up eventually, and when it does, I'm sure you'll be glad that you've stuck it out. Like I said, I enjoyed those interactions at the start of the film, but it might not be for everyone, particularly if you aren't familiar with both sets of characters. The novelty of that might not appeal to you quite as much because the story hasn't really got started yet and there might not be much for you to sink into. But if you are like me and you do like both franchises, I'm sure that'll be enough to bide you over until the story really does get set in motion. It's great to see them together. Fans of both shows have been clamoring for a proper crossover between these characters for a long time. You know, they were both big characters on Cartoon Network with very similar themes, and Cartoon Network themselves had played up on it in various bumpers and commercials, and so it's nice to see a full dedicated movie of the two together. Like I said, this film does ultimately revolve around the mystery of Nowhere. You know, this is a Scooby-Doo film first and foremost, and so of course there's going to be a mystery. I'm sure none of you will be surprised to find out that it does follow that traditional Scooby-Doo formula, and of course, just like a mystery, there are monsters at the centre of it, and in this film it is the cicadas. Now the cicadas are introduced fairly early on, not long after Scooby and Courage meet for the first time. Now I will say, when I first saw that scene in the movie, it didn't even particularly stand out to me that these are going to be the monsters for this film, simply because I thought this is a Courage the Cowardly Dog crossover. This is completely random but completely at home in the Courage the Cowardly Dog world, and I thought there were just going to be a series of different random things happening, and a few other random things had happened as well, and so to me there hadn't been any reason to single them out as the standout monsters of the movie yet. Of course, when we do see them return a little later in the movie, I had clocked that yes, they were the film's monster that we will see recur throughout the movie's runtime. I don't know why this was a shock to me. They are even on the DVD cover. I just clearly haven't been paying attention. But the cicadas alone are not the mystery, because the film is delving into why are the cicadas and all these other crazy things happening in Nowhere, which is a very interesting concept. Of course, it feels natural that this is something the gang would ask themselves. They're very inquisitive by nature. They are mystery solvers, particularly Velma. It makes sense why she would be questioning all these things. And on a fun side note, I did enjoy Velma being frustrated by Muriel's riddles, which she was not able to solve fast enough. But I will say there is a part of me that does feel like this isn't a question that needs to be answered. It was never a question that Courage the Cowardly Dog as a show ever felt like it needed to be answered. In a way, it almost feels like a betrayal of that franchise to try and even give us an explanation as to why Nowhere is so bonkers. It just felt like an answer that never really needed to be explained. And while it's nice that they were exploring it here, I can't help but feel like it was a misunderstanding of that franchise. Now I will say it is something that feels like is a little in line with Warner's stand on the Scooby franchise as a whole, which is that monsters aren't real. It's always going to be someone in a mask. Paranormal and supernatural activity does not happen within the world of Scooby-Doo, and as such everything needs an explanation, and the same almost feels to be true here. But you've got to remember that while this is first and foremost a Scooby-Doo movie, it is also a Courage the Cowardly Dog movie, and that line of thinking just doesn't feel like it really meshes with the Courage the Cowardly Dog franchise. Ultimately, I think they make it work, and so by extension of that, everything needs an explanation. Now, I do think they managed to make it work. I don't feel like ultimately it does feel like too much of a betrayal of the Courage the Cowardly Dog series. Of course, I'm not going to tell you what the ending is, but everything still feels incredibly bonkers and insane and true to Courage. But it does just feel like it is delving with a topic that show never really would have been interested in. And while it does make sense that the Scooby characters would have been interested in, I don't know that the film itself had to explore that. It could have just been something that maybe Velma had pondered, but did we really need to dedicate a full movie to exploring that? I'm not sure. So as I just mentioned there, and how we've talked about it before in previous Scooby reviews, is that Warner Brothers has recently had a mandate on all the Scooby-Doo movies that supernatural events and paranormal activity just not take place within the world of Scooby-Doo. But of course, the Courage the Cowardly Dog franchise is normally the complete opposite of that. And so how does this film deal with that? We've discussed how they are trying to uncover the mystery of Nowhere and how we may get an explanation of said mystery. But many of you may be wondering, does this film stick 100% to that mandate that nothing weird, nothing supernatural or paranormal ever happens within the world of Scooby-Doo? And well, there's an answer. I'm gonna tell you. This is the slight spoiler that I did mention earlier. So if you haven't seen the film yet and you don't want to know anything, I am going to be doing this here because I don't really feel like I have enough to say in this film in order to make a full full spoiler breakdown discussion of this movie. Most of my thoughts are being said in this, but there is just the one little thing that I do want to talk about. So if you haven't seen the film yet, you don't want anything spoiled, you don't want to know the answer to this question going in, this is where I'm going to have to love you and leave you. Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment down below, all those internet things, or alternatively you can skip to this time code. So to my shock, the film ultimately does say that the paranormal and supernatural goings on of Nowhere are all real. There's nothing fake here. It is all really happening, or at least for the most part. This is a Scooby-Doo film and there is an unmasking of sorts, but it doesn't mean there aren't real monsters and things in this film that you just normally wouldn't see within a Scooby movie. I think that is something that having the Courage crossover does give them a little bit more credence and a little bit more room to be creative and have real monsters, real weird things happening that normally would be explained away. But that being said, it is the Scooby-Doo movie that does want to rationalise everything, probably partly due to the Warner Brothers mandate, and so we still get an explanation for why everything is weird, but at no point does that explanation take away from the fact that everything is still so crazy and weird. You know, it's not all some projection or hologram, it's not a big hallucination. No, all this weird stuff is really happening, but there is a reason behind it. Some people I think are going to love this, other people are maybe not going to be happy about the explanation. Maybe some people will think the show never needed an explanation, and so why is it being given one now? Me personally, I did find it a little odd that they felt the need to give us this explanation, but it's not something that I really feel betrayed by. It doesn't really bother me all that much. I am a fan of Courage the Cowardly Dog and definitely enjoyed watching it when I was a kid, but I will say it was never my favourite show and I haven't really watched it in a very long time, so it doesn't bother me too much. But I do imagine people that are much bigger fans of Courage than I am, this probably may bother them a little bit more. I'm not entirely sure. But that is really all I have to say on that. It's not a negative, it's just a weird little thing that I noticed and I wanted to discuss. Overall, I really enjoyed this film. Do I recommend it? Yeah, particularly if you are a fan of Courage the Cowardly Dog in addition to Scooby-Doo. But if you have never seen Courage the Cowardly Dog before, you're just a fan of Scooby-Doo, that probably isn't going to matter too much. They are colourful characters that the gang run into on this adventure, and it still works as a Scooby-Doo movie. I do think a lot of the novelty of this film is going to go right over your head. Maybe you're not going to find it quite as charming as I did, because I don't think the meat of the film, the real story of the film, doesn't really get going until about halfway into the film, and even then I don't think it's one of the strongest Scooby films we've ever seen. It's good, it's fun, it's enjoyable, it's worth a watch. It's not something I'd recommend you rush out and buy unless of course you are big fans of Scooby and Courage. But if you're a more casual fan, maybe wait for it to come out on TV or on streaming. It's a good movie, it's a decent movie, but there's no real rush for me on this one. Would I watch it again? Probably, but it's definitely not going to be my first choice of Scooby movies to rewatch. Just like I said at the start of this video, it's October, it's Halloween, it's spooky season or spoopy season, and we're going to be doing a few more Scooby-Doo videos to celebrate this month. So to make sure you stay updated with that one, you hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell to be notified the next time we dive down the Tube of Toons all the way into the mystery machine. What was that? Oh yeah, and there's the return of everyone's favourite series. That's right, everyone's favourite series, The Myth Behind the Monsters, is returning to the channel. So we're going to be breaking down all the myths behind all the monsters, and I'm going to be carrying it on for the foreseeable future. I am sorry that it's been a while since the last Myth Behind the Monsters video. I don't really know why I stopped the series. I didn't intend to actively stop the series. I just got a load of ideas for all these other videos. There were a lot of things I wanted to cover, particularly when all the things were being released over the summer. I fell behind with a lot of that stuff that was coming out over the summer. I have so many videos where I've filmed them and I've just not edited them. I've got a Space Jam review, a Tom and Jerry review, Prudes 2, the New Age review, cartoon catch up on the Tales of Arcadia series for the Trolltons movie that came out ages ago now. So many things, and I will eventually get those videos out to you guys because I have filmed them. Whilst I'm saying all this, I want to apologise for the lack of videos recently. I was doing the what if breakdowns. I don't know what it was about those videos. They were really taking it out of me, the way, all the editing and stuff. And also, I don't think you guys really responded to them very well. I know a few of you watched them and liked them, but on the whole, they weren't really doing very well on the channel. Now, I think I am going to finish the series off, but I'm definitely not going to do one video per episode. I'm going to group them. Probably going to see 2 more videos on that show from me because I am a completionist and I've got to finish it, but I'm not going to spend as much time on them as I have been doing. But also, there's just been a lack of videos in general. It's not just been that because of that series. I've been given a lot of extra hours at work, which is great, more money but less time to work on videos. I've been ill. It wasn't COVID, but it really took it out of me and I wasn't able to do much on the computer. And also my computer had been running really slow. Every time I was editing it became a chore, which I think is one of the reasons why the What If series took it out of me in editing, because the computer was running so slow. But I do think I've fixed that now. But I think it was just a combination of all those things at the same time: work, feeling ill, and my computer running slow. So I just wasn't able to get through videos as fast as I wanted to. I feel like I'm so far behind the channel, but don't worry guys, we are back with a vengeance this month. I've got so many videos planned and I cannot wait to share them with you, and I hope you guys cannot wait to watch them. So once again guys, sorry about the lack of videos recently, but thank you for sticking through it with me. Alright everyone, thanks for watching. Cheers. Thanks for watching Tube of Toons. If you want more from the channel, hit subscribe. If you want to keep up to date with what's going on, follow us on our socials. Hope you liked it. Cheers.